Oh, sorry about that. It wasn't supporting me using a specific browser. So
Oh, it's all good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, our podcast is about your journey in the music industry and
Yeah.
putting out the songs and where you are today. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I really loved it down there, and I started doing music at the age of 8,
Wow.
about. What's really great about Texas is like they have their own little like music scene there.
Okay.
Um, it's definitely like it was in Dallas, so it wasn't necessarily in Austin, so it wasn't as like big as Austin was, but
Sure.
they
I have
had like
family in Dallas. What part of Dallas? My family was in Plano. I don't know if you know
yeah,
that.
we're in Plano too, actually.
Really? How funny.
I always find in Nashville there's so many Dallas people.
Is
It's
that
crazy.
right?
Yeah, there's actually been times where like I've been walking across the street and then somehow started a conversation with someone, and then I'm like, "Where are you from?" They're like, "Dallas, Texas."
How funny.
I think like these Texans can just like spot each other in the room, like you.
You are from Texas. Very cool. So you said you started music at 8 years old?
Yes, I did.
Was that singing or do you play an instrument?
It really started with singing. I had like a music class in my school, and
Mm-hmm.
they they were just talking about jazz and like blues music, and then
Mm-hmm.
one day they brought up scatting and showed like Ella Fitzgerald, and then they like brought up Aretha and Nina Simone and just kind of like these powerhouse soulful singers, and I was like, oh wait, people can sing, like you can just like open your mouth and sing. I guess I'm not gonna shut up now. And so then I like went home and just anyone I could talk to, I would just be like, I was like that kid at the grocery store where I was like, hey, do you want to hear me sing? Yeah, you do? Okay. Like, and so my mom was like, please God, I need to get her vocal lessons. Like, this is bad.
So you get into vocal lessons. Well, how did you get to Nashville? Are you in Nashville?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville. So
Okay.
basically, there's a seminar, Tom Jackson, who kind of did like live stage performance stuff. And I know he's particularly like well known in the community for doing like Taylor Swift's stuff like in the
Okay.
beginning.
Wow. Yeah.
And so there's like a little seminar there, and I kind of like, I was 10 and I like begged my mom to go to it. I was like, please can we do this? Please, please, please. And then like eventually it worked somehow, and I found myself in Nashville. And it was interesting because it was like, it was all day long. Like he just taught, like, and it was one of those things where I just sat down, got my notebook and wrote down everything he said. And even like
Wow.
the jokes, like I wouldn't realize that like he would do, like there's times where people from like Canada and New Zealand would fly in for this, and like there's
Wow.
times where he'd be like, yeah, it's a process. Like there's just times like he would like joke around with the accent, but I would write it down. Like this is I might need to switch into a Canadian accent at some point in my show. Who knows? It could be important.
Wow.
And then like,
go ahead.
no, you could go.
No, go ahead.
Well, a lot of it too is, but every time I write in my notebook, one, I had dyslexia, so like my spelling was horrible. And then like people always thought I was doodling and not paying attention. And then I was like, no, actually, I've just been writing everything down you've been saying. That's not creepy at all.
Well, so how did you find out about this conference?
I think it was one of those things like randomly on Facebook. Like my mom, I was just kept mentioning like Nashville, the TV show Nashville too.
Oh,
was
sure.
kind of like a thing, and then which made us be like, what's in Nashville? And then I think I went to a little like vocal studio, and then she found it and like told my mom, and then somehow I ended up in Nashville.
Wow. So tell me about your like you have some songs up on Spotify. Like when did you start writing music?
Gosh, I started writing music when I started going to Nashville. I would say maybe like 6 months before, but I had no idea of the structure of a song, so I wouldn't really like consider them like songs. I mean, they were, but they were just like not compared to what I was writing when I started when I like started going back and forth. So I started writing when I was 10. So I guess it's been like a little over 6 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Whoops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was one of those things where it just like took me a minute to kind of like figure it out. And then it started becoming like, I wasn't writing when I was leaving Nashville. And then like slowly that became a progression on just like sitting down and like writing on my guitar and then like figuring out how to co-write and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so well, tell me how you got from going to the seminar at 10, and then were you just that was just super inspiring, and your parents would take you to Nashville every so often?
Yeah, so it was just my mom who
Oh, just your
took
mom.
me.
Sorry.
Yeah. Um, Basically, what would happen, we went to the seminar and then we kind of stopped by a few bars or like any bar that would let the 10-year-old in.
Okay.
And then like people were so nice to the point where they're like, hey, want to jump on? Because like, especially when there's a big like 4-hour sets that happen a lot, kind of like in the Broadway strip. And so the best like thing you can do to a musician is to say, do you want a bathroom break? I can sing like 2 songs. And then they're like,
Oh.
thank God, you know, because 4 hours is a long time and they don't
Oh
always
yeah.
sit down break. So I just like started just being like, hi, I sing. They're like, you get on stage real quick. I gotta go. Like, and then I sang a song and then someone was like, hey, we should write a song. And I was like, holy shit, this is how co-writing works.
Oh,
You know?
okay, yeah.
And so like once a month, it slowly just became like, all right, I'll stay here for like 3-4 days
Mm-hmm.
and I will try and perform anywhere anyone would let a 10-year-old with a guitar into a bar. And then I will try my best to like trick people, not really trick people, but into thinking I'm like 14 maybe, so they'll like just not right away, tell them I'm 10 and then like hope it works. And then I took like songwriting lessons for a little bit, just with Margaret Becker, who's like an amazing songwriter, and she's kind of like taught me the structure of music and like how to write a song.
Uh-huh.
And then it became like guitar lessons and songwriting lessons, and then slowly just like kind of getting older and being able to just like perform more and just meeting more people.
Mm-hmm. So you guys were traveling back and forth from Dallas to Nashville
Yeah.
quite a bit for a number. How long have you lived in Nashville for?
I've lived here for 4 years. It's been.
Oh wow,
We,
so you've been there quite a bit.
Yeah, we went back and forth for like 11 months. Like no, not 11 months, a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when I like switched over to homeschooling too, just to make things easier.
Sure. Yeah, I have a 12-year-old that we homeschooled even before the COVID or whatever. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. So you're in Nashville now, and you start writing songs. And tell me about putting your first song up online.
Yeah, so that was like terrifying.
I can imagine.
Yeah, especially because it was a very like personal like song to me, and it's like called Dumbass, and it was basically just talking about how, especially when I started kind of in country for Nashville, especially like living in Texas. I love country music, but it's weird because it's like when you do music, it's like it sounds really cheesy, but like you don't choose music, it chooses you. And like there's just certain things that like your heart lean towards, and it was really like genuinely pop music, but originally it was like kind of country pop music, and I felt like sometimes I was kept trying to get put in boxes and like stereotypes of what I needed to look like and what I needed to act like, and like this is how you be successful, especially as a female in country music. And then I feel like kind of slowly getting out of it, it just like made me realize all of like the insecurities and like the things I was always looking out for, just so like I can like be a good musician or like try and be a good artist or a good person. And then I was like, wait, all of this, like most of this is bullshit. Like people aren't going to look at you when your hair is dyed and be like, she can't write a song. She can't, I don't want to write with her. Her nose is pierced. Like that's not the way it is. And so I just kind of realized like I was always afraid to look like a dumbass, which like in my translation meant like putting myself out there,
right?
Like, any way, or just like looking the way I wanted to, or any way that kind of looked quote unquote like ballsy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I released it on Spotify. And then I remember thinking like, nothing's going to happen with it, but it's okay. I have a song out. This is crazy. And then I looked down and it was like on New Music Friday, which was like crazy to me.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, huh? Like, hello? Wow. And I didn't even go on New Music Friday. Someone texted me about it being on New Music Friday the next day. And I was like,
wow.
I didn't even like think to look at the possibility. I was just like, oh, it's out. Like, there you go. That's it.
And you did that all independently?
Yeah, I have a publishing deal with Cara DeGuardi, who is amazing, and like I owe her a lot, especially for that song and just like giving me the power and freedom to write that. And then I also have a manager, Christina Russo, who is amazing, and that was all kind of like getting set in place at the time.
Gotcha. And you met all of them after you had moved to Nashville?
Yes. So I met Cara through an NSAI event.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was 14. I think I just turned 14, and it was a 40 people get to go, 20 get to sing, and when you get there, you put your name in a hat, and if she picks your name out, you get to sing her verse, a pre, and a chorus of your song.
Oh wow! How did you get selected? Was it just random, or do you have?
It was NSAI. It was like a pop-up event, so they sent an email to all NSAI members that if you signed up fast enough, you get to go.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and there are people there like who didn't sign up fast enough, and they still tried to get it. Like it was like this crazy thing, which like I still have no clue how it worked out in any way.
Okay.
And it honestly stresses me out to think about like, and I was very fortunate for her to like pick my name, and so then I sang her half of a song, and then I expected it to kind of like, that's it. I'm gonna run into her like 2 years from now, and she's gonna pretend like she knows me. Like, oh yeah, that one song at that one place, that one melody, that was cool. Yeah, nice to see you again. You know.
Yeah.
And then she, a few weeks later, she reached out to NSAI for like my contact information.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we had a meeting, and I'm here now with her being her artist, and I'm so fortunate, and she's amazing.
That is amazing. So after you wrote Dumbass, were you playing your song around Nashville or like doing open mic nights and stuff like that?
So I was heavily doing open mics from the age of like 10 to 13. And by that, I mean like 3 to 5 times a week. And then also trying to write 5 times a week while managing school. And it was a lot of like writers rounds and like and then when I kind of turned 14 to 15, it was like, oh shit, like I'm performing all the time, but I need to like sit down and work on my craft as a songwriter. And so I kind of like put it down to like doing writers rounds honestly once a month. But I'm very like, I really needed to like learn how to translate a song on guitar and just like learn. My favorite challenge that Nashville gave me at the time was like, how do you make a like loud bar be quiet? Like, what do you have to do? What do you have to say? How do you have to sing to get people's attention? And it was like my favorite like game to play. You know, it's like, how am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? Let's find out, you know?
Yeah, that's an interesting exercise to think about. Yeah, like how are you going to get everybody in the whole bar to like, wait, what's going on? Like kind of glance over and see and get their attention. I like that. That's cool.
And so I found a lot of that was like with singing. And then I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to really like translate that to songwriting. What do I have to say to get people to listen? Like, what do I have to do? And so then that's really when I just kind of started like sitting down and like writing like 5 times, like 3 to 5 times a week again, but just more so like, I'm going to like fight. What do I have to say? Like, what am I going to say? What do I need to say? Like, what is my prerogative? Like, what do I need to get out there? And I wasn't necessarily performing Dumbass out, but I was definitely like in my room singing it and trying to like perfect it and get it right. And then like with the production, and then I started performing it out like with shows and kind of like getting a band together and kind of trying to like go out there. But then unfortunately COVID happened. And so kind of like limited thinking
Yeah.
about it form and yeah. But
So, well, it looks like you posted Dumbass on Spotify in this year, right? In
I
2020.
did. Yeah, I was like,
Wow.
it was in January.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you put that one out, and it looks like you have 4 songs now
I
on
do.
Spotify. What was the second song that you released?
The second song I released is Z.
Z. Okay, tell me about a little bit about that song.
Yeah, so Dumbass was a very like serious song for me. A bit
Mhm.
like I wanted there's some playfulness to it by the using the word dumbass, but like I wanted something that was more like this song, like I was just like dicking around in the writer session and it was with
Mhm.
two people like I genuinely adore. I wrote that song with them, Brie Kennedy and Robin, Z. And so
Okay.
I and so I like the first line says it's kind of a generation song, so the whole point is Gen Z. But we
Yeah.
don't necessarily say like Gen Z. I say easy, and then I just put an emphasis on like Z.
Mhm.
And so a lot of it was just kind of like I found at the time there's especially a lot of like meme culture
Oh
around the
yeah.
generation, and I just thought it was fucking funny, and I was like, I want to put this in a song, and
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, what's the most like dramatic like thing that I could say in the first line? And then I was like, my best friend fucked my ex-boyfriend. Now his best friend hits me up. Like, like let's see how this goes. Like, okay. And so I really didn't expect like, especially like Kara or anyone listening to it, especially my mom. Like, I just didn't expect anyone to like it in any way. It was just one of the things where I was like, this would be funny.
Right. You
And
and
then
your mom must have a pretty good relationship if you could write stuff like that, and she's like, "Oh, this is a great song."
she's like, okay, honey. Yeah, I definitely like raised in an unfiltered household, which I'm
Mhm.
very grateful for. And I'm kind of allowed to have my own opinion on things and just kind of like allowed to have serious conversations and write songs about things that I'm passionate about. And I'm very lucky, but I also do push it sometimes. Sometimes she's like, really?
Yeah,
But
you have a pretty funny Instagram like bio and stuff too. I was dying. Like you put that you're like a family law attorney or something.
yes, I'm a divorce attorney. The thing is like I was hoping that no one would notice it because there was one time like I changed it to like public swimming pool and they're like, okay, shouldn't you be singer? I'm like, that makes sense. But then like a month later, I was like, I found divorce attorney and I was like, this is me. I feel like this describes my brand so well. Divorce attorney, family lawyer, and divorce attorney.
Yeah,
That's like
and then you
professional.
put that you're a you're a stay-at-home mom with no kids. So very funny stuff. That's awesome. So Z, and then you put out "Happy for You" was the next one because I know "Orange Peel" is the most recent, but "Happy for You." Tell me about that one.
Yeah, Happy for You is kind of the first song I kind of released about a relationship. And, especially like I was 15 at the time, and I was 15 when I wrote that song. And so I was kind of more scared to release it, especially because I feel like when you're younger, a lot of your feelings about people are invalidated,
Hmm.
which like I completely get where it's like, yes, I have not been in like a 5-year long relationship and haven't felt this like I want to marry this person, but I've also felt like a deep like care for
Hmm.
someone. And it's like also, especially when you don't know you need to hold back with someone or you haven't like learned that like, ah shit, heartbreak sucks, you know? And so I kind of like got out of like, or kind of relationship that just really, it felt like I kind of lost my best friend at one point.
Hmm.
But I was also really happy about the fact that like they don't need me and like we don't need each other in that intensity anymore. And like we need to
Hmm.
be like independent people and like grow up a shit ton and just kind of like do our own things. And he was doing that so well. I was like, you didn't have to do it like that well, like that fast. Like, come on, man. Like, you're
Hmm.
supposed to be missing me a little bit, like just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of one of those things where I was really happy, but then I was like, fuck, you don't need me anymore. Like, I don't make you as happy anymore. And so that's really what like happy for you was for me. It's like I'm happy for you, but like I'm sad for us. That was
Sure.
need that anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And then your new song that's out now is called Orange Peel.
Mm-hmm.
And that just came out recently, right? In the
I think it came out on Friday.
Yesterday. Wow.
Yeah. Very new.
Exciting. Yeah, very, very, very new. What, tell me about Orange Peel.
Yeah, so orange peel, my favorite color is orange. So this, I think this has like a funny story. So I wrote this song with James Stroll, Sarah Davis, and Reed Barron, who are like some of my favorite people to work with in Nashville, especially. And James is an incredible artist, and like I respect him so much. And we were in the writer's room, and I think it was the second time I was writing with Reed, and he was the producer in the session. And James was like, like I just hate it sometimes when artists like come into the session and have no ideas. And I'm like, shit, I'm the artist in the session and I have no ideas. Like I have nothing. It's like one of those days where I was like, let's just see what the room, like what happens. And then I was like, fuck, like I have nothing. And so I'm like frantically scrolling through like my notes, just very casually though, like, oh yeah, like I had this one idea. Let me try and find it real quick. And then I just saw that I wrote orange peel in my notes. And I was like, how can I bullshit my way through this one? Like, how can I possibly like make this into like any idea? And so I kind of randomly out of the blue was like, what happens if we said like, wish that I could take this off like an orange peel with all my thoughts? Like just kind of wish that like everything didn't have to be so intense. Sometimes like I just kind of, after a relationship, specifically like the one I wrote about Happy For You, I wanted to maybe not take such a negative like perspective on loving the person. And if I just like focus on the fact that like I had that feeling for someone and just like didn't have like all the negativity surrounding it. And I also, a lot of times I was writing from the perspective of being insecure. And then, and at that time, it was kind of, I want to say like maybe a month or two before Lizzo's album came out.
Okay.
And she had this like perspective that was just so like amazing, especially like, it was just like, if you don't like me, you're wrong.
Right.
Like, I am the shit. And you know what? I'm allowed to think I'm the shit because I'm not saying I am better than anyone else. I'm just saying I'm good myself. And I was like, holy shit. Like this came from such a place of like power and confidence. It just like really inspired me to maybe not like always think to write from an insecure place. And so I think I wrote it from more of like a confident perspective than my other songs.
I like that. That's interesting perspective to take. I love that. You referenced Lizzo too with like, I like what she's doing. Yeah, totally rad. Have you like with COVID and everything, obviously you can't play live and stuff, but have you tried to go live on Instagram or YouTube or any of that stuff?
I've been also working on TikTok lately.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's a big one.
The little like guitar videos with like the lyrics on the screen, that. And then, well, because I also really love the honesty of TikTok. And I feel like it's a lot of kids that are either like millennials or Gen Z, where it's just kind of like that place where you can like say almost anything. They're like, I actually relate to that, which I find like really fun about TikTok. But I didn't want to like TikTok at first because I was like, Vine's better. No. And then like I downloaded it, opened it, was on it for 5 hours, and I was like, okay, I guess
I get this.
I get this. Yeah, but a lot of it, I've been doing, the Zoom sessions, and then trying to do live streams, and then doing live streams with like charities, and then with like friends of mine, just kind of like singing on guitar. And obviously, it's always like it's hard sometimes to have a connection, especially when it's like over the internet. But if you don't think about it too hard, it's fun. Yeah, so you just feel like you're just playing to nobody, you're just sitting there, and then do you see like the comments flying by or anything? Like sometimes, a lot of it, like what really weirds me out is like, holy shit, I'm singing to my phone. Like, and if I just like look at anything past the phone, I'm like, wait. Oh, right. It's like, wait, I'm singing like I'm not, or especially when I'm like singing a personal song and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, wait, this is like to my phone. Like, hello, this is too extreme.
That's funny. What do you think the most validating moment in your career has been so far?
Ooh, gosh. I think so a video of Z got reposted and translated to Korean on like language on the screen, and the comments to it were very much so just like, I relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
Or just kind of like, yeah, like these certain situations, like I felt this way before. Like, thanks for saying it, because now I can listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt very like, this is the reason why I do music, you know? And then like, especially when there's sometimes people who don't, like I actually had a comment on TikTok where it's like, someone said like, I love this song, but I can't understand it because I like speak Korean, but it was still just like, they could like appreciate something. I think there's such a beauty to like appreciating something that you can't fully understand,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Which I think sometimes like people can lose the art, especially in America, when you're always like turning on the radio and it's like, yeah, I understand this completely.
Uh-huh.
And then, but yeah, I would say that just like people say they relate to it, or like understand the place that I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's interesting that it was like that it was translated in Korean. Like,
Yeah,
how
like,
random.
it was so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, like, okay, whoa. And then there's also like a dance that came out to Z that was also just like
a TikTok challenge. Wow.
Yeah, well, no, it was actually, there's this, do you know the 1 Million Dance Studio, 1 Mil? Like, it was this place, there's like, yeah, there's this dance studio that came out with this whole like choreographed dance to it. And they're like,
whoa,
people dancing to it. And I was like, it's also like doing their own form of expression and art to my form of expression and art.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like, whoa, I'm like honored.
That's cool. That's really, really, really cool. Especially with, you know, the TikTok, the hype of TikTok right now and the bands that are breaking out of TikTok right now. I mean, to have a dance, that's really, really awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
For having me. I really like appreciate it.
I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for other aspiring artists.
I would say honesty and vulnerability. And I would also write a song like no one else is going to hear it. That's like lyrically, just say what you want to say, and then like specifics, don't be scared of them, because there's definitely like colloquial terms that you can make very specific and true to you. Yeah, that's really like the biggest advice I could give for me, especially something that like I even like struggle to like fully do to like my best ability, is just like being honest and being vulnerable, and then have people be okay with hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also for people who are like songwriters and not artists, and like understand that like one of the best things you can give into a room is your perspective. Bringing it backwards.